good idea to check it out, but...
Are you familiar with my channel at all?
Yeah, I've seen it. We ain't gonna talk about nothing soft, though. I promise you that.
That's good. That's what I want.
Can I wear a mask?
No, I can't do mask.
Okay.
I don't do mask. That's Primo.
Mm-hmm.
Primo is a joint with a little bit of crack in it.
Crack in it.
That's how a lot of people get started on crack, right?
You know, my whole life I heard people tell me that I would be smoking a pipe soon. I mean, I'm 54. You know, when I was a kid, crack was king. And my uncles, they sold dope, heroin, cocaine. And when crack hit the scene...
Where is this?
New York. I'm from New York City.
Okay.
And when crack hit the scene, I got mentors. You know, they weren't family to me, but they treated me like family and they taught me the business. I learned how to cook crack from a man called Dr. Rock. You know what I mean? He used to be, he was one of them 70s pimps. And he had the different color leather purse and he had the different color leather jacket and the sniper. And he really hated women, but he had a bunch of them. And inside that purse, he kept the Star Trek Enterprise. And he would put the rock right in the middle of the round part of the Enterprise. And the two things that came out were where you smoked at. So he'd stick his thumb in one side and hit out of it. But if the chicks made enough money, he'd let the chicks smoke out of the other side. He was my mentor. He showed me everything. He taught me how to cook crack. He had a buddy named Simon, and he was a black gorilla. And Sam taught me how to hide guns in the couch and, you know, have a man at the door and check what was going on before they came in the house and serve them and get them out real fast, you know. No hand-to-hand sales. They get the money to somebody else, you give them the dope. I managed to stay out of any kind of incarceration until I was like 39.
You've been in the dope game for a long time now.
Yeah. My uncles were cooking crack one day and we were chopping it up on plates and he rolled a blunt with some coke in it. And he said, you know what this is? But I was 12. I just want to be big as the big boys, you know? So I lied. I said, yeah, I know what it is. I have no idea. And he goes, well, light it. And I lit that shit and top of my head got tight. My throat got numb. Top of my mouth got numb. I didn't know what the fuck that was. I couldn't feel my tongue. My ears were ringing. I was like, what the fuck is this? And he's like, pass it. I was like, I ain't passing shit till you tell me what this is. And he said, the shit you're cutting on the plate, that's what it is. And I was like, for real? He was like, yeah. Why you tell me? Why you think I tell you to give me all the crumbs when you're done? So that was the beginning of the end. I mean, I liked it and I still like it. It's my major malfunction. But I pay for it. I don't fucking rob nobody, steal nothing from nobody, none of that shit. But I hustle.
Has crack unraveled your life like it does to a lot of the people down here?
Since I've been in LA, I've been okay. But yeah, I lost my life. I lost my life during COVID. I did. I had a chick that was on meth. She was a hooker, but the meth made her just want to fuck, whether she was getting paid or not. And she wasn't holding up her end of it, and I wasn't paying attention, and before I knew it, I lost everything. But you can't keep a good nigga down. You know, pretty soon I'll be signing the lease on my new crib and I got my Social Security and I'll be all right.
What brought you to LA?
What do you mean?
Why'd you come to LA?
Because of her. She tried to kill me like 3 times. She fucked everybody I know and everybody on the fucking blade. Out in Arizona, we got a whole stroke called Van Buren, but famous pimps come to Van Buren and fucking pimp their hoes. And I had a dope spot on the blade. My grandpa had 2 hotels, so I was like old school when I hit the blade. And I had just got out of prison, and she was one of my brother's girls. I stole her from him. I told him I was gonna come do something to his white girls and something nasty. And he told me, if you think you can, go ahead. But I could. I knew that. So I came back and I got her. And I thought that she was a good fit with me. But we were toxic together. She just wanted to bust nuts. And after she bust her nuts, she'd go off on her little missions. She made a lot of money, but I never saw a dime of it.
What was your childhood like?
I'm a twin. We came out breech. I came out first. My sister came out. Her feet was stuck to my head right here. That's why I got this spot. And we lived in Brooklyn, 40th and 5th. Nice little brownstone. We went to private school. My father was a gangster. My father was a rapper. My father was a pimp. And he didn't spend a lot of time, but he made sure we had everything we needed, you know, and he couldn't spend a lot of time. We'd go to see the Harlem Globetrotters, you know, and right after the fanfare, and we get all our snacks and stuff, and we sit down in our seats, and we were courtside. As soon as the lights went down and the show started, he'd lean over and say, I gotta go. Hand me $100 bill so we could catch the cab back home to Brooklyn, and he'd take off. United Artists Theater, when Star Wars came out, we had so much shit from the snack bar. We had little tables in front of us. And we were sitting right in the front, you know, on the best spots in the theater. As soon as the lights went out and the commercials was over, my father leaned over, said, I gotta go. Give us money, take off. That was my experience of him. You know, he was a heroin addict, but he was a heroin dealer. He fixed in the morning, he fixed at night. Sometimes he'd mess around in the afternoon, but he wasn't one of them non-heroin addicts. He was a hype heroin. He'd get that shit in his system and he'd start dancing around and shit. And he'd want to play dominoes and play poker and, you know what I mean? He made money. He was always about money. One thing he taught me was knowledge is power. What you don't know can hurt you. And in the 2000s, if you ain't got your game straight, you're gonna get fucked off. I've always had that work ethic though. If it is to be, it's up to me. There ain't nobody else gonna give it to me. I gotta go get it.
If you had your life to live all over again, would you have done anything differently?
I don't know, man. I ain't gonna lie to you. I think my life turned out the way it was supposed to. I think God wanted me to see things that I can't unsee, you know. And when I was 12, my parents put me out. Because when I was 9, I wouldn't be a kid. They were Rough Riders. They had motorcycles and they would go on rallies to California. I got uncles in California that are East Bay Dragons. I got uncles in Arizona that are Chosen Few, you know, and I got uncles in Louisiana. I got uncles in Florida, you know, but they all deal drugs. I've been in 28 states, you know, and I was bred for this. I was born to this. It's part of who I am. But I can remember my parents being out of town and me going to my uncle and saying I need money. And he'd give me, you know, $200, $300 for me and my sister. But he'd ask me, how much money you want? And he'd be counting money from his sales. And it'd be big stacks of money on the table. And I told him, I want that money. I want that much money. And he'd laugh. And he'd get up from the table, go in the kitchen, and he'd come back with a big old sandwich bag full of Coke and hand me that. And I asked him, what am I supposed to do with this? He goes, you figure it out. And I did. I sat right there and waited for one of his runners to come and pay him the money and get another bag. And when he ran off, wherever he went, I followed him. When he got to the house, I went in the house. He couldn't stop me. He worked for my uncle. He's bagging up the dope. I'm watching him bag up the dope. I started bagging up my dope with his bags. You know, when he's standing out on the porch selling, I'm standing out on the porch next to him selling. And I started seeing how to get money.
Did you have anybody around you as a kid, any role models that were taking a straight path?
My brother Jay Whip and my brother Binky were drug dealers and pimps. My uncle Vicente, he sold heroin and he sold marijuana, but he had a Long's Drugs. And it was attached to a bar. And the reason he had the drugstore was because upstanding citizens could go into the drugstore and then walk into the bar at 10 o'clock in the morning, but they couldn't be seen walking into the bar at 10 o'clock in the morning. So they'd go to the drugstore and go get drunk. So after school, I would go to his bar and he would give me a mouthful of heroin balloons and I'd fill my mouth up with heroin balloons. And then I'd run through the drugstore and grab me a comic book off the rack and run to my neighborhood. I used to watch my pops hookers. You know, they'd get out of cars and they walk up to me and they slide 20 bucks into my comic book and I spit them out a balloon. But then later on that night, we'd go to the whole house. He'd be in the back room checking them for the money that they were late. You know, they were short off their fucking quota. And you could hear him slapping the shit out of them. And, you know, I mean, it was loud, pow, pow. And I'd be sitting in the front room on the couch with the money they were short in my front pocket. And they never told on me because they wanted to do it again tomorrow. So I learned back then, they gonna come see that dope sack before they go see that pimping every time. So I'd rather pimp the white girl in my pocket than fucking be sweating some chick and yelling at her and all that. It's a waste of time.
And what's your biggest fear now? What do you worry about at this point in your life?
Getting old, being in a wheelchair, having a fucking piss bag or a fucking shit bag, and fucking not being able to take care of myself. I don't want to live like that. I'd rather die. I don't want to live like that. I'm not bragging or nothing, but I got a fucking horse dick. And I charge for this dick extra large. But I don't want to be trying to get at no bitch with no diaper on. Fuck that.
You been in love before?
Yep. I just fell out of love. Always pick the wrong ones. I always pick the chicks that don't appreciate what I do for them. What mama want, mama get. I'm a hustler. I'm a man. I'm gonna make sure she got clothes, food. If she got a drug problem, drugs. I'll make sure she gets so much dope that she don't want no dope. But again, what I do for her, she don't appreciate. And so when she's being disrespectful or she won't listen to me or talk over me when I'm trying to talk, we're not communicating. That's not how you communicate. You talk, I listen, I talk, you listen. But they don't ever want to do that. They want to just run their mouth. And you can't learn nothing when you run in your mouth. And knowledge is power. And they don't ever hear what I'm saying to them. It's sad. Because I want to have forgiveness. I want to show them love, but they don't deserve it. They don't earn it. So fuck them.
Has your life gotten easier, like at 2023, or than it was in the back like 20 years ago, or even before that?
I don't got to work no more. I got my Social Security, but it ain't easier. I mean, bills got to be paid. Food got to be bought and cooked.
The dope's not as good as it was?
No, the dope's pretty good right now.
Yeah.
There's some creamy shit, but it's like now I do more when I'm tired. and how to sleep. Now the food tastes funny when I'm getting high to where I don't even want to eat when I'm usually like 460 pounds. I'm a big dude, but you know, living this lifestyle, it wears on you. 3 or 4 days of no sleep, you start thinking things that ain't real, seeing shit that ain't real, but you gotta be honest with yourself. When you're a man, you have integrity. There's a certain level you have to uphold. No amount of money or drugs will make me compromise my integrity. I look myself in the face every day. And if I can't look myself in the face, then I'm not really being a man. I'm not being true to myself. So, yeah, sometimes that gets harder.
You have kids?
I got 5 daughters. My youngest daughter's 5 years old.
And they're being raised by who?
I got 4 baby mamas. And so far, they've been good baby mamas. I just can't stand them.
They're not working girls.
My daughters are happy. My last baby's mama was a working girl. I took her off the blade. She wasn't doing very well. So I saved her. But after I saved her and started getting her hair and nails done and makeup and all of that stuff, she started getting more attention from the guys on the block. And I kept telling her, you can't speak to everybody because you're out of pocket. A pimp will snatch you up. And she didn't believe it. She got kidnapped, but I paid for her and I got her back. And then she got pregnant. And she wanted to be a school teacher, so I helped her get through school. And, you know, one thing led to another, and the result was my daughter. She's beautiful. I love her. And she's smart. She's already in the 1st grade. She'll be in the 2nd grade when she turns 6.
And you're in your
it's
kids'
working out.
You're in your kids' lives?
Oh, yeah. I'll have to be. Without me, they'd be vulnerable out there in them streets because they fall in love with a dude like their daddy.
How do you teach them to go after a guy who's not like you? That's hard.
I don't. I just teach them how to protect themselves, and I teach them how to play chess. Make your next move your best move, because it might be the only move you got. Always stay a few moves ahead. That's how you win.
Yeah, but a girl's father becomes almost like the
Oh yeah,
the model of the kind of
I'm
guy
the
she
role
looks.
model. Yeah. I'm always honest with them. I ain't no good. And I tell them the truth. And pretty much they listen to me. The older ones, I don't know. I don't like their boyfriends. But most of the time I don't like their boyfriends because they're like me.
You can tell your kid, do as I say, not as I do, but that doesn't really work.
Always give a child the opportunity to choose. 9 out of 10 times, if you raise them right, they'll choose right. You know, discipline is a very specific thing. You know, you can train your child like you train an animal. You make the right decision, you get a reward. You make the wrong decision, you get a consequence. But you have to choose. If you choose wrong and you get punished, that's what's up. If you choose right, I'm always, you know, give you kudos and reward you the best I can. I show them love. They know they're loved. You know, they can't do no wrong in my eyes. My daughters walk all over me. So do their mothers. That's why I leave.
Did you ever think about doing anything other than being in the streets? When you were a kid?
All the time.
What'd you dream about?
I wanted to be Spider-Man. I did. I wanted to be a hero. But heroes are broke. They don't make no motherfucking money. They're always getting beat up for nothing. They don't get no healing time. They can't kill the bad guy. Nah, that ain't me.
No regrets?
No regrets. I think I was about 39 when I stopped having nightmares. I used to have nightmares all the time.
About what?
Well, when I got quoted, I was living on a park bench in New York winter. You know, when you're little kids in New York, you go to school, you see people sitting on the stoop like this, blue. They're dead. They're cold. They got cold. They're dead. Wintertime is brutal in New York. You got to have a snowsuit, some long underwear, some insulated boots, some insulated socks. You learn isotoner real quick. Yeah. And so when my parents put me out, I thought I was going to freeze to death. My friend, his father was a boss, a real boss. Not like out here. These West Coast guys, they say they're a boss. They ain't no fucking boss. Number one, you can't call yourself a boss if you ain't got no employees. Number two, you can't call yourself a boss if you don't take care of your employees. In New York, when a guy says he's a boss, if you need groceries, he's got a grocery store. If you need a car, he's got a car dealership. If you need a piece of ass, he's got a brothel. If you want to impress your girlfriend, he's got nice restaurants in Manhattan, and he's got a limo service that'll take you there. And the guy will know you're coming and take your jacket and call you sir and bow down and kiss your ass and all of that shit. You know, that's a real boss. He's got a haberdashery, and he's also got a bootery where they put your foot in the metal thing and measure your foot and make your shoes, where they measure you with the tape measure and make your clothes. And these guys are real professionals. I used to bring them the East Bay magazine and show them the outfits that I wanted, and they would make that outfit to fit my big ass. You know, my boss was good. He had a jewelry shop. We had 4-finger gold rings and the Run DMC hollow necklaces and all of that stuff.
What was the best time of your life?
1984.
What was going on?
I was rapping with a lot of the Bay Area rappers and Herm Lewis and JT the Bigger Figure was washing their dope money with our rap records and giving us kilos, and we was famous. First Street, Third Street, Alamein, Hunters Point, East Oakland, Berkeley, Frisco, and like we would go places and people would know us. People would like us. One time we did a concert, and on our way out, the crowd ripped our clothes off. When we got to the car, we didn't have no car keys because we didn't have no fucking pants on. Yeah, it was a good time.
Heavy, what would you say is the most important thing you've learned in your life?
This is deep, because I tell you about the life that I've lived. I worked for the devil for a long time. And I can tell you right now that when it comes to the God that created us, I'm down for him like I was down for my set. Like 4 flat tires on a Cadillac. Everything that happens, there's no chance, there's no luck, there's no guessing or playing. Everything is God's will. Everything happens, it's God's purpose. I'm living proof of that. And that's all I can say about that. I mean, I can't prove to you, but I've been shot 24 times in my lifetime, and I'm still here.
You done prison time?
And I can give you a good race to the corner.
You done?
Yeah, I did 10 and a half flat.
What was that for?
Trafficking, intent to distribute, gang syndicate, illegal enterprise. I had 36 felony twos. I had $210,000 worth of liquor and cigarettes in my garage when they raided my house. I was getting it. And that wasn't even the best time of my life, but I was getting it.
Do you believe in karma?
No. Karma's a bitch. Fuck her. My first job, working for my boss, he wanted me to cut up a dead body, wrap it up in plastic, get on a train, going to Jersey, ride the train to Jersey, put the suitcase in a luggage rack. When we get to Jersey, wasn't no cameras and shit like that back then. You just leave the suitcase in the luggage rack and get on the train going back to New York. And by the time they smelled it stinking, it'd been in lost and found for like 2 weeks. And then, I didn't have no fingerprints on record or nothing. I threw up for like an hour, just looking at the bloated body and thinking about what I had to do with it. Then I started cutting on it. I threw up then too. Then after my stomach was queasy and I didn't have nothing else in my stomach to throw up but bile, I still threw up like 2 more times. But I got it done. The first time was hard, but then after that it got easy. Plus I'm a weirdo in that sort. I got a thing about watching the hogs eat the hands and the head. Their hands go down quick, but the head's like a jawbreaker. And they just keep on chewing it and chewing it and chewing it till it pops. And then they slurp it all up and crunch it down and it's gone.
It's a dog-eat-dog world, isn't it?
It's a world we created. If you read the Bible, and I have several times, the one thing that's consistent throughout the Bible is no matter how much power, how much divineness, how much love God shows us, we're still disobedient. That's what your natural man is designed to do. We don't care about rules as a race. We don't care about what's right or wrong. We use that to judge each other. But when you get on your knees at God's feet when you're dead, He's going to ask you, why were you doing my job? Because nobody can judge you but God. And He's going to ask you, why were you doing my job? But all those people that tell you what you were wrong, and all those people that tell you what you're doing is a sin and blah, 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 they do it too. You don't think the preacher's dick gets hard when Sister Robbins walks by with her fat ass in that tight shirt? He thinking the same thing you thinking when you look at her with that fat ass and that tight skirt. He not thinking about how pious she is or how good of a parishioner she is or how holy she is. He thinking about what he could do with her if he had her alone in a room naked. Because he's a man. It's our natural instinct to do that. It's our basic human need to gratify ourselves. And even people that are holy, their basic human need to be holy is so they can gratify themselves. They feel like they're better than somebody, but I can tell you, whether they're a dumpster diver or whether they're a millionaire, we're all God's children made in His image. He loves us all the same, and ain't nobody better than nobody. And don't judge nobody. You don't know what a motherfucker going through. One time I was on a bus going to school, and this lady was sitting in the back of the bus, and she was just letting her kid bounce all around the fucking bus, going in other people's purses, fucking snatching people's ears, and finally somebody asked her, lady, what the fuck's your problem? Control your kid. Why you letting them go crazy like that? And she looked at the guy and she said, today his father died. You never know what people are going through. Everybody's got a story. And most of the time, it's worse than the next guy's story. but it's still just their story. It's the culmination of who you are as a human being. I don't feel bad for what I've done. I don't feel bad for gangbanging. I don't feel bad for the niggas I done knocked down. If you read the Bible again, all God's chosen, they were all killers. Moses, David, Samson, killers. Chosen by God though. He knows what you're gonna do before you do it. He understands. Sometimes people go to the extreme, but it's our basic human nature.
What's your greatest strength?
When I got an issue, when I got a problem, I don't dwell on it. I figure out the solution, and then that's what I work on. I don't care about spilled milk. A lot of people, they'll spill the milk and they'll just keep pointing at the spilled milk. I know chicks that have been raped and they talk about that shit to this day, and it happened like 40 years ago and they still can't get over it. It happened, it's over. Unless you're stupid, it's not gonna happen again. What are you gonna do now? What's next? What's really your goal, and how are you gonna reach your goal? We all have breakdowns. But if you get caught up in your breakdown, that's where you get screwed. You gotta find a solution, or you're not gonna get what you want out of life. There's only two ways to do things. The right way, the way we know how to do it. The way we know how to do it's only gonna get us so far. Till you figure out the right way, you're never gonna get what you really want.
All right, Heavy. Thank you so much for speaking to me. Wish you lots of luck out here.